And our mission today really is to unpack what idioms actually are, why they're so important if you want to sound genuinely fluent, and maybe some practical ways you can start getting the hang of them. We're pulling out the key ideas from the source.
Absolutely. Trying to get straight to what really matters for, making that leap in your English.
Because there really is a difference, isn't there, between just like knowing the grammar and vocab
Yeah,
and truly living the language using these powerful expressions.
exactly. And the book we're looking at, it starts right there. It draws this line between what it calls basic English,
Okay.
which is, perfectly correct, clear, easy to grasp, like saying, I'm tired, or she is very happy, or it's raining a lot. Simple statements.
Right. Grammatically fine, everyone understands you, but maybe a little bland.
That's exactly the word. A bit flat. They don't have that color or that emotional weight.
And that's where idioms come in.
That's the space they fill.
Yeah.
So the source defines idioms as these expressions where the meaning, well, it's not literal at all. It's not about the individual words. They're cultural, they're full of feeling, and they're powerful because, honestly, native speakers use them all the time, often without even realizing it.
Yeah, they just roll off the tongue. And the book gives some great comparisons, doesn't it?
It does. So instead of that basic, I'm tired, you might hear, I'm running on fumes.
Ah, yes. You instantly get that picture, that feeling of being completely drained.
Exactly. Or instead of just, she is very happy.
She's on cloud nine.
Yeah. Or that absolute classic, instead of, it's raining a lot.
It's raining cats and dogs. Everyone knows that one.
Right. And those examples just, bang, they show you immediately how idioms add, well, flavor, personality,
Depth, maybe.
depth, imagery. Yeah. They signal you understand something beyond just the dictionary definition. You get the feeling, the culture behind it.
Precisely. And this connects directly to why the book argues that getting idioms down is so crucial for sounding truly fluent. Because fluency, as it points out, it isn't just about talking fast or using $10 words.
Oh, not at all.
It's really about sounding natural, like you fit in, like you get the subtleties of everyday chat.
Exactly. It's about sounding comfortable and authentic in the language.
So how do idioms help you get there? What specific powers does the source attribute to them?
Well, it lists quite a few things. For starters, they're a huge part of sounding more like a native speaker. That's the big one.
Okay.
And they really unlock things like movies, TV shows, songs. Think how often you hear phrases that just make no sense if you take them literally.
Oh, constantly. You'd be lost without understanding some of them.
Right. And beyond that, the book stresses how they help you forge deeper emotional connections. It's easier to express complex feelings.
And inject a bit of personality. Humor, even.
Totally. Humor, wit, sarcasm, idioms carry all of that. They're like conversational shortcuts to making your English feel really alive and dynamic.
Like little packets of meaning and culture. Okay, let's revisit some more of those basic versus idiomatic examples from the source. They really drive the point home.
They absolutely do. So, I'm very tired can become a much more common I'm beat.
Or I'm running on fumes, like we said.
Right. And he is very rich becomes, well, the much more vivid, he's rolling in dough.
You can almost see it.
Exactly. Or if you don't understand something, instead of just, I don't understand.
It went over my head. Captures that feeling perfectly.
It really does. And when you need to restart something, let's start again, often turns into the more action-oriented, let's go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, it signals a fresh start or rethink.
And for happiness, she is very happy. Could be she's over the moon, or, again, she's on cloud nine.
Yeah, you can just feel the difference. It's way more expressive, more engaging.
Definitely. It transforms your speech from just functional to, well, impactful.
Okay, but let's bring it back to the listener. Why should you, tuning in right now, really invest the time and effort? What are the concrete benefits? The real so what, according to this source?
Right, the practical payoff. And the book is pretty direct about this. It argues that mastering idioms can genuinely open doors. It talks about better job opportunities.
Really? How so?
Well, it's not like they'll quiz you on raining cats and dogs in an interview, but using idioms naturally and confidently. It signals a higher level of fluency, comfort, and cultural understanding. That comes across really well in professional settings.
Ah, okay. So it's more about the overall impression of fluency and confidence it creates.
Exactly. And just day-to-day conversations become way more engaging. You're not just swapping facts. You're connecting, sharing nuances, maybe even joking around more easily.
Makes sense.
Plus, you finally understand native speakers better. Think about watching movies or listening to podcasts without constantly hitting pause or feeling lost.
Oh, that feeling of, wait, what did they just say? Yeah, reducing that would be huge.
Huge. And the book also highlights the confidence boost. Nailing an idiom. It just makes you feel, smarter, more capable in the
Felt
language.
you've unlocked a new level.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, it touches on emotional intelligence. Idioms often carry subtle emotions. Using them well helps you express yourself more fully and understand the feelings behind what others say, leading to stronger connections.
Okay, wow. So the benefits are definitely there. From practical things like job prospects to deeper stuff like emotional connection. So we know the what and the why. Let's get into the how. The source offers some pretty practical strategies, right? It calls them genius strategies.
Yeah, they're really actionable steps you could start using like today.
Yeah.
The number one thing the book hammers home is learn idioms in context.
Not just lists.
Definitely not lists. Forget memorizing lists out of thin air. You need to see or hear how they're actually used. In conversations, in shows, in books. That's what makes the meaning stick.
Context is king. You got to see them in their natural environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then there's something called the shadowing technique.
Shadowing.
Yeah. It sounds simple, but it's apparently very effective. You basically listen to native speakers, maybe from a recording or a video, and you mimic them. You try to copy their pronunciation, their rhythm, their intonation, and crucially, the idioms they use.
Oh, interesting. Like you're literally echoing them to get the sound and feel right.
Exactly. It helps internalize not just the words, but the music of the language, including how idioms fit in.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Another very practical tip. Keep a personal idiom diary.
Like a notebook.
Yeah, just a simple notebook or a file on your computer.
Right.
Whenever you come across a new idiom, jot it down, write its meaning, maybe the situation you heard it in, and try to make your own example sentence. Then, crucially, review it regularly.
So you're actively collecting and reinforcing them, like building your own personal phrase book.
Precisely, your own curated collection. And then, the big one, you have to practice speaking every day if possible.
Using the idioms.
Using the idioms you're learning. Try slipping them into conversations. And the book is really emphatic here. Don't be afraid to mess up.
That's easier said than done for a lot of learners.
Oh, absolutely. Making mistakes is just part of the process. Everyone does it. The only way to get comfortable and natural is through practice, trial, and error.
Okay, so embrace the awkwardness sometimes.
Pretty much. And to make it less daunting, the book suggests focusing on maybe just 5 new idioms a week.
5 a week? That sounds manageable.
Right. Choose 5, really learn them, use them in speaking, maybe try writing with them until they feel sort of natural, then move on to the next batch.
Breaking it down into smaller chunks. Good idea.
Yeah. And another related tip is learning by theme. Grouping idioms together that relate to, say, work or relationships or feeling stressed. Your brain tends to remember things better when they're connected like that.
Like organizing files in your head. Okay.
And the last strategy it mentions is creating visual flashcards. If you're a visual learner, this could be great. Draw a little picture that represents the idiom's meaning. Like, for on cloud 9, actually draw a happy stick figure on a cloud.
Tapping into that visual memory. Yeah, I can see how that would help certain learner.
Definitely. So yeah, some really solid practical approaches there.
Absolutely. So if you start doing these things, if you start mastering idioms,
Yeah.
what does life look like then? How does the source describe that transformation?
It paints a really positive picture, actually. You start feeling genuinely part of conversations with native speakers, Not like you're always one step behind or missing the joke.
Less like an outsider.
Exactly. And you can impress people, not necessarily by using big words, but by how naturally and creatively you express yourself. Your fluency just feels more effortless.
And maybe you stop having that frustrating feeling of knowing what you want to say emotionally, but not having the right words.
Yes, that's a huge one. You become a better storyteller, the book suggests, because idioms add that color, that impact. It even says idioms can save you time.
Save time? How?
Because they often pack a complex idea or feeling into just a few words. They're very efficient, linguistically speaking.
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
And fundamentally, you connect better with people on an emotional level. You can bridge cultural gaps because you're tapping into these shared ways of talking about human experience.
Which brings us back to that really core idea the book emphasizes, The true power is in the emotional connection.
It really is. It keeps circling back to that. It's not just about vocabulary. It's about feelings, culture, connection.
Like that example you mentioned earlier, under the weather versus I'm sick.
Exactly. Choosing under the weather isn't just picking different words. It's conveying a specific, nuanced feeling that's slightly off, not quite right feeling everyone recognizes. That's living the language, the source argues, not just speaking it.
That distinction is becoming really clear now. It adds a whole other dimension.
Right. Idioms are like these little crystallized bits of shared human experience. Joy, frustration, hope, humor. Using them makes your language feel so much more alive and, well, powerful.
Okay, so people are excited they're trying these strategies, but learning anything new has pitfalls.
Ah,
Does the source mention common mistakes people make when learning idioms, things to watch out for?
oh, yes, definitely. It gives some clear warnings. Probably the biggest mistake is using an idiom without actually being sure what it means or how it's used.
Oh, yeah. That could backfire spectacularly, lead to some very confusing or maybe funny situations.
Definitely confusing, potentially awkward. Also, trying too hard, overusing idioms.
Like peppering every sentence with one.
Exactly. It sounds incredibly unnatural, like you just swallowed an idiom dictionary. You want to sprinkle them in naturally, not force them.
Right, moderation is key. Don't sound like a textbook.
Precisely. Another common mistake is mixing idioms, taking half of one and half of another.
Oh, like creating idiom Frankenstein monsters.
Huh. Yeah, something like that. It usually just ends up sounding garbled. And finally, the book mentions being mindful of cultural sensitivity and context. An idiom might be fine among friends, but maybe not appropriate in a formal meeting, or it might have slightly different connotations in different English-speaking regions.
Good point. Context and audience awareness are always important.
Always. So the core advice from the source is pretty straightforward. Really learn the meaning and usage first. Practice deliberately, maybe start slow. Don't rush it.
Focus on naturalness over quantity.
Exactly. Fluency, the book keeps saying, isn't about sounding perfect or using the most idioms. It's about sounding natural, comfortable, real. And idioms are presented as this, like, missing puzzle piece to achieve that.
That final element that pulls your English together.
That's the idea. And the book makes it clear this matters whether your goal is, say, nailing a job interview or getting ready to study abroad or even just finally understanding all the jokes in your favorite sitcom. Mastering idioms can be a real game changer.
But it takes effort.
Absolutely. It boils down to practice, patience, and knowing why you're putting in the work, having that purpose.
Well, this has been a really insightful deep dive into English idioms, all based on mastering idioms, elevate your English fluency. We've covered what they are, how they're different from basic English, why they're so vital for fluency, and some really concrete ways to learn them, all pulled from the source.
Yeah, it's clear they're much more than just quirky phrases. They're essential for sounding natural, expressing yourself fully, connecting with people, and really truly engaging with English on a much deeper level.
Absolutely. And the source leaves us with that really powerful final thought. Don't just learn English, live it. Which really makes a thing, doesn't it? What does it actually mean to live a language beyond just the basics of communication? And maybe how could learning and using just one new idiom today start moving you a tiny bit closer towards that goal? Something to perhaps chew on.